On today's episode of the Sales Factor podcast, we have none other than Mina Mustafa. She's the business development manager of a company called Sodaclick. Now, she has a track record of being a creative, business-driven interior designer. Now, that's a mouthful. But she strives to give the best customer service, creative solutions, and really guiding her customers to make the best decisions out there. So welcome to the show. Let's get into it. Mina, what is the biggest challenge you are finding right now in sales?
Customer retention. The biggest challenge for me is customer retention. I don't know if you find this challenging as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge topic that probably isn't discussed quite a lot. I think a lot of people focus primarily on new business. But my experience within sales, when I was in sales, I used to look at 33% new business,
Okay.
33% penetration, which is more once you land internally, like how do you then expand to other parts of the business with other products or other services that you've got? And then 33% was on renewal. So how do you renew them and how do you keep them on as a client? So it's a massive, massive topic to discuss. But why do you think it's such a big problem?
Because the reason for that is that it requires an ongoing effort and
Mm,
investment to maintain these customers loyal to your brand, specifically with the competitive market nowadays and also the high customer expectation. What do you think about?
mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, if companies are spending all this money and time and resource to acquire customers, great, right? You land the client, you deliver the service, you build up that relationship with them. Again,
Absolutely.
you've done all the work. You want to keep them on board, and I think if there's no process around people to retain customers or have a process in place to keep them on board, like you're losing out on revenue and all that hard work can just go off into the ether. But like
100%.
what
100%.
if you saw that the impact of not retaining customers to the
So
businesses?
good question. The impact is exponential. First of all, let's look at return on investment. From attaining
Mm,
the customers and potentially losing out on the recurring revenue from these customers and the organic growth that comes within the retained customers. There's actually a very interesting study done by Harvard Business Review. It
mm.
states that increasing customer retention by only 5% can increase profit from anything from 25 to 95%. So that is a
Oh,
huge percentage.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure people want to increase the revenue by 95%. Happy days.
I know,
Love
right?
that.
Only from
So
5% of people. 5%,
that's it.
which
So
is a small amount.
it's really a small amount, but we I think people listening to this will know customer retention is super, super important. Like they
100%.
get it. But like what should companies be doing about it? Or how should they be going about to actually renew people? And the reason why I'm asking that question is
Yes.
I think that people because I've been in sales and one of the things we didn't really focus on customer retention. We've always focused on new business, right? And it was a key area. This is where like customer success and stuff comes in, which is super, super important. Um, which is an area we can obviously dive into. But
Absolutely.
it got to the end of like the year subscription and stuff like that, and then when we went to renew because we hadn't actually had a process in place to build up that relationship, keep touch points, etc. To keep them on board, like it was super hard to retain them and renew them. So, what should companies be doing about this? Like, how should they be going about or thinking about customer retention? Like, what processes should they be putting in place to make sure that they actually are renewing customers and actually, keeping that revenue in the business?
So, like you mentioned, you're talking about building strong customer relationship and bringing these customers in the first place to be interested in your brand and what you're doing. And not only that, improving products and services goes a long way. So, these
Mm,
customers came to your company for a reason. That you
mm,
are solving a pain point in the market, and they're here to be part of your company, to be part of your ecosystem. So, how can you retain these customers? Is by maybe improving products and services, listening to your customers as well, listening to their feedback, and
mm,
create an overall pleasant customer experience. It's very important. And not
Okay,
only
so
that, let's dive a bit
yeah,
deeper and talk about
yeah.
personalization.
Mm,
Personalization is super important, in my opinion, when it comes to acquiring new customers and also retaining your existing customers.
absolutely. Like personalization is massive, and I do want to dive into that in a second
Yeah.
with customer retention. So yes, we know it's all important and building relationships and delivering a good service, and that's great. But like what should companies be doing it as a process? So say you've got someone on for a year long project or year long subscription. Like what steps should they be taking throughout the year to make sure that that personalization is there, the relationship's there? Is it resting on the shoulders of the BDM, of the SDR? Should they be looking at bringing in customer success? Like, what have you found that really works in terms of a process or activities they should be doing throughout the year to make sure that when it comes to the renewal or retention stage, that they have a higher percent chance of securing that business.
So basically, it's a long process, and you can tackle this question from so many different angles. So it
Yeah,
really depends on the context here. So
yeah,
if we're talking about depends, first of all, let's talk about market strategy. You go to market strategy.
right.
If we're talking about B2B here, it's a different approach. But when it
Mm,
comes to B2C, again, what we're seeing, you have so many different tools in the market that you can utilize to help you create a fantastic customer journey. And also, you
yeah.
can get feedback from that and you get data from these customers to understand their shopping habits, their pain points, what you can do to improve your products and services and to keep
Mm,
them invested in your brand. So, this is extremely important as well to talk
yeah.
about brand loyalty from these customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit on a really key point there is actually listening to your customers and
100%.
listening to their feedback. How are they using it? How are they finding it? What challenges are they finding? What can you do to improve that? They might even say something that you haven't even thought about that you can bring to the business and implement, which is
Exactly.
massive. So if talking to customers is one of the key areas, do you find that there should be a process in place like a drop-in call or a check-in call every 4 weeks and or an actual meeting booked in to specifically talk about these topics? Do you think it should be someone else in the business like a customer success manager to come in and that's their sole job to continue building that relationship and acquire that data, listen to the customer's feedback, and then push on to innovate?
I think all the above, all the ones that you've
Mm,
mentioned. It's important to create a customized customer journey, a personalized experience. And it depends on the customer, basically, your target market, your target audience, what you're trying
mm,
to sell to these customers. How are you tackling these sales? What products are you offering? And how you are going to showcase these products? What processes are you using to create the overall customer journey? So
yeah.
basically, there's no one way. There's so many different ways, but it depends at the end of the day on the go-to market strategy and your business itself, what you're trying to achieve, what's your end result. So I
Yeah.
definitely think all the ones that you've mentioned, emails, marketing campaigns, listening to your customer feedback, yeah,
Yeah, and that's drawn back from my experience for sure in sales, where we didn't necessarily we looked after customers, but we weren't at the forefront of constantly being speaking to them once they were through the door and learning and following the process, like they were doing well. So we just felt, well, they're doing well, like they don't necessarily need us, which in hindsight is a big mistake because then the problem came that when it came to the end of okay, do you want to go for again for another year? It's like, well, not really, because we didn't listen to get information and data that we could then internalize and develop and add more stuff to the product. So yeah, I think customer retention is massive. I think listening to your customers, having a process in place where people can actually, and it doesn't need to be like every week, speak to them, talk to them, how you find, like 'cause that can be overkill. But I think
yeah,
like having a process in place, if you've got like a year long, okay, 8 week check in, 4 month check in, 6 month check in, where you've got someone like you can do an hour long, you can meet the team, how you getting on, and really advise, or even what's your thoughts on like a group, not necessarily like a panel discussion, but more like a drop-in session where you can potentially look open it up to all your customers. Have you ever done anything like that?
Yeah. That's an excellent, excellent point, actually. Creating a webinar to educate people
Mm.
about your products and services, and also do some like nice soft launches of any new products that are coming in into the market by maybe
Yeah.
sending them a nice marketing campaigns to talk about your products and services, maybe offering them an incentive or even, come and try it for free. So something
Mm.
that you can get people hooked to. And again, we talk about, brand awareness, building your
Mm.
brand and understanding your customers' needs. So this comes into play. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that, in the whole sales cycle, there's so much to do, there's so much going on where, you can look at acquiring new businesses to customer retention to having processes in place. But I think in the back of my mind is it's keeping it really simple. Like, because you can go, like, I think you can go off in so many different directions and do so many
Absolutely.
different things, and everything's
Yes,
great. But the heart of it is the customer's always king, right? So listening, having a process in place where you're having to check in, I think that's super, super important to really drive conversation relationship. And like you mentioned earlier, personalization, right? How can you get to the end of, say, 6 months or a year of them using your service and try to retain them or renew them for another year without having a relationship? If you've just left them, you brought them in and then haven't like built up a good relationship with them or got to know them on a personal level throughout the check-ins, like it's going to be super hard to retain them.
definitely. So, like you say, Aaron, personalization is key here when it
Mm,
comes to retaining these customers, and not only retaining customers, acquiring new ones as
mm,
well. So,
mm.
personalization does go a long way.
Yeah. So we know personalization is important, right?
Yes.
So what should so say if we take a different slant and look at like acquiring new customers, right? Or looking at customer retention. Like what say someone's got a prospect, they know they want to work with these guys, they're a good persona that they're going to go after. Like what should people be doing before contacting that prospect to make it personal?
So do a bit of research. Research is
Mm.
easy. It doesn't take a long time to,
Yeah.
research before you go ahead and contact these customers. But again, I go back to my previous point talking about what is your go to market strategy. Are you doing business to business or are you doing B2C? So if you're
Yeah.
doing B2B, it's a completely different approach because B2B is about building relationships, going to events, being present, connecting with people on, social media platforms, and
Mm.
creating an ecosystem of integrations and collaborations between these relationships that you're building. So
Yeah.
that's from a B2B perspective. And I can dive deep into that subject, but I'm not going to go to. So the other point is if you're doing B2C, it's a completely different approach when you're doing personalization. So
Mm.
there's no excuse whatsoever nowadays to personalize the customer experience. The reason being, you have so many tools available out there from CRM, from personalized marketing campaigns, and also the data collection that it's giving you an insight to your customers' habits, likes and dislikes. So
Mm.
it's the easiest thing to do is to personalize this experience and understand your customers' needs and also
Yeah.
understand your products and services that you're offering to these customers.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it comes back to when we're talking about retention, like listening and data is key. It's going to help you pivot and change and adapt and innovate. But I've- personalization is an interesting one because I think you can go so far with it. And in your experience, what have you found in terms of when you're doing your research is the key information you're looking
Sorry, if you can repeat that question one more time. Your voice is cutting
Yeah,
off.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's a bit. I think it's just lagged out there. Yeah, I was just saying, like when you're doing market research on customers,
Yes.
and you found someone, say it's B2B,
Yes.
and you found someone, like you can do all the market research, but what key information have you found that really works when doing outreach or when trying to create that ecosystem? Is there specific key information you find that you look for, or is it just more a case by case basis?
So basically, it's understanding who I want to approach, what value
Mm,
I'm going to add to their partnership, and what value they'll bring to my business. So it's
right.
a two-way street when it comes to B2B. You want to benefit your partners and you want to get something in return. So
Yeah.
when you are doing research, you want to understand who you want to approach because what value they adding to your company and vice versa. So
Yeah.
that's what I usually do when I'm approaching customers and building these relationships.
Good. So my only question with personalization, and it's something I've struggled with or really tried to contemplate on before, but is the toss up, right? The coin toss between the amount of time that it takes to do all the market research to find all these people and stuff, versus being too personal and going out and finding everything you can, because you can do all the research in the world, right? And you can find out all this great information, which you've invested a load of time into it, but actually then get nothing in return. So, like, how much is too much, or like, is there like, right, this person's the right person, we've got X, Y, and Z, right? We know this person we could add a load of value to, and vice versa. Like, it's a coin toss. Like, how much time should people be looking into market research, or versus like going too far with trying to be too personal?
I completely agree with you. This is a very important point to raise, to be honest, because it is a fine line between being too personal and not doing any personalization whatsoever. You can
Yeah.
do the methodology of A B testing, like to create different campaigns and study the market and then
Mhm.
deploy the A and B testing and see the results, the feedback from these customers. Are you being too personal? Are you not being personal enough? So it's just collecting that data to help you create the perfect experience
Such
for
a
your
great
customer.
shout. Love that.
Yeah,
Because yeah, and I don't think there is a silver bullet. I don't think there's a one size fits all where do this and you're going to get 100% response. All yeah, I agree. I think it's a really good point to
the
again, it
magic
comes
person
down back.
here.
Yeah, imagine there was a silver bullet and we're just like, yeah, do
That would
that,
be
great.
amazing.
Everyone responds.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, cool. So you mentioned personalization, which we know is super important, and some really insight there from what you've done and what people can take away in action. When people go out to build relationships, like who should they be looking to build relationships with in a business?
Well, again, going back to my previous point, I know I'm going to be talking about that a lot. It depends on their
Okay.
market strategy, what they're trying to achieve when they're approaching these customers. So, what's
Yeah.
their end goal? So, that is important to understand the go to market strategy, creating that business plan and marketing plan.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think that would be it for me.
Yeah, and I think when you go down the route of personalization and say you can A/B test it and see what response works, collate the data, and then amalgamate that with what direction you want to go in, it builds credibility over time. So I think
Definitely.
having key people, like one of the things I would suggest anyone listening is don't just have like one person you're constantly going out after. Like you could look at a business and you could say, right, the marketing manager is a key person, the strategic partner internally is a key person, the CROs, and you can still personalize it. You've got all the information, but then A/B test on every single one of them. Because again, I think if you're just holding out for just one contact within a business, it's going to be super hard to establish that credibility over time. Whereas if you can maximize, speaking to multiple people in a business, they know your name, they know the business, you've sent the value prop, you've done the personalization, you're building the relationship, you've created the ecosystem, you're on LinkedIn, you're creating content, you're reaching out. Like it's a combination of all of that that can like over time. And then what happens is then they'll start talking. And if it's a really good product and they really like it, you'll end up winning more people across in
Absolutely.
the business, which then
100%.
again, which then I think
Organic
again,
growth.
yeah, absolutely. And again, if we're talking about customer retention, like if you got more relationships within a business and you're speaking to multiple people within the business and getting feedback, listening to them data, it's only going to increase the customer retention percentage at the end of the year or end of your product cycle. So
Correct.
good. So personalization is a massive one. We know that. Now,
Definitely.
how should people be going out and generating conversation? And I'm aiming it more to cold calling and emails
Okay.
because we can do all this research and stuff like that. But how do we actually get the foot through the door? So you've got all this information. You've spent time. You've done a lot. You've A/B tested. You've written up your scripts. You're ready to email. But how should someone be getting in front of their prospects? How should they do it? What should they be doing?
So, like I said before, like doing a bit of research to understand why you're reaching out to these specific individuals or businesses. What do you
Yeah.
want out of this relationship? What can you offer to benefit these businesses and create an ecosystem of collaborations? So,
Mm,
it's important to do your research. That's number one. The second thing is build a relationship with these customers. It's important as well to build the relationship and grow that relationship,
yeah.
nurture it. Thereafter, I think personally for me, I prefer to reach out by email
Mm,
just to kind of, you know, get the hook by, with the research that I've done, with the understanding the business and understanding what products that I'm going to offer to these customers. Then
yeah.
when I get their response, meaning they are interested,
Yeah.
and then I will do the call thereafter.
Yeah.
It goes afterwards. I won't do cold calling straight away because, to be honest with you, I do think cold calling, and that's from my own experience, it's impersonal.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll get this straight away. Sorry, I'm in a meeting. Go away. Busy. Who are you? Don't know you. And
Exactly.
it's driven from trust. So if you can build trust with value beforehand before you pick up the phone, then I think you've got much more better chance. I was
100%.
speaking. So on Sunday just past there, I met a few SDRs in London. We went for a coffee, just having a chat, and one of the guys had just started and he said, I've sent out 600 emails in the last week, but I've got zero responses. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, let me see the email. And, bless him, he's only just started. So, he's still learning, which is great. And he's got the attitude to go and do well. So I said, let me see the email. So I saw the email and it was like, he sent it out and it was like, we do this, we've got this, we do this, and it's very much we.
Yeah.
And I was like, of course you're not getting responses. Of course you're not, because you're not having the customer in mind. You're not having like their needs or what value you can like. Yes, you can bring value and great and stuff like that. So I said to him, rather than giving him an answer, I said, what what's the end goal? Like, what are you trying to achieve? And he's like, well, I want a demonstration. I want to book a meeting. I was like, okay, what happens in the meeting? Oh, we go through like a case study. We go through this. We go through this. We do a product demo and stuff. We find out their needs and stuff. I was like, okay, great. I said, so what step could you do in an email to the customer before you pitch the meeting, or before, like, how can you change your direction? So he's obviously pondering and thinking, and oh, can I do this? Can I do this? And he got to the end where it's like, okay, you've got all this information already internalized in the business about what customers like, what customers need, like, increase in revenue, increase in ROI, whatever it may be. I said, why can you not create like a value proposition of a case study that you can send them, give them actionable information or tips that they can actually implement into the business, go out and try it, I said, what's the perception that they will have of you if you send something like that? He's all like, well, if they try it, like they might win, they might get something from it. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I goes, what's the perception of you as an individual by sending it? So it's like literally changed his whole perception on it. I said, okay, the number one reason people don't want to pick up the phone and cold call people is because they don't have a reason to call. So what
Exactly.
you're doing, yeah, what you're doing in that instance is you're sending a value proposition or you're sending something for them to action. That then creates a reason for you to call them 3 days later. Hey, John, hope you're all well. I've sent you over this value prop. It's, bang, bang, bang. It does this, this, this. Like, actually, did you see it? No, I didn't. Or yes, I did. Oh, what your thoughts of it? So you can take the conversation in the direction you want. And like you could see his eye just both is lit up, and he was just like, "Oh, damn!" So like, I'm gonna catch up with him in a few weeks, see how he gets on. But I think that dynamic changes the cold call because it's a reason for calling
100%. 100%. Uh,
someone.
and also, do you remember when you first reached out to me on LinkedIn? It was
No. Yeah.
it was quite good because it was a voice note. And I thought that was quite interesting. So when I heard your voice note, actually, you did do your homework. You done a bit of research about me. And then you approached me in a way, oh, this would be good for you. Like, oh, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. And then you steered the conversation. I was like, oh my God, I am hooked. I'm interested. So, and then I replied back immediately. Usually, any messages that come through my LinkedIn, they're very impersonal and I delete them straight away.
Yeah, copy and pasting long messages and stuff like that on LinkedIn doesn't
Yeah.
work. Like,
Yeah.
and anyone for this listening, if you're doing that, please stop. And the reason why I'm saying that is think about your own buying habits, right? So when you're on LinkedIn, I'm sure you get messages of people emailing or sending a big long paragraph and stuff like that. Just ask yourself, do you one, read it? Do you two, know it's automated? How does it make you feel? Like if you're not going to respond to someone emailing you or sending you a copy and paste message, if you're doing that to your prospects, like how do you think they feel? Why do you think they're not responding? So creating a voice note in parts personality, tonality. You've only got 60 seconds. It's intriguing because they only see like a voice clip. They don't know what you're saying. So yeah, it changes the dynamic again. But driving back to the points we've spoken about earlier is the value. Like what's in it for them? Like why are you actually reaching out? And why is it important that they actually listen to you? Like how can that impact them as a person and also the business?
Absolutely. 100%. And the voice note is quite intriguing because you want to find out what this person is saying. So you
Yeah.
want to open the voice note and hear it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I used to coach people on LinkedIn, so I know all the tricks and tips and
No,
what people should and shouldn't be doing. But it comes back to it, right? For example, let me ask you three questions, Amina. In the last 12 months, has anyone ever phoned you out of the blue? Number one.
yes,
Yes or no? Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Did they try and sell you a product or service that you'd never heard of before?
Well, I don't let them get to this point.
Okay, so they tried, right? And then the last question is pretty obvious. Like, did you buy it?
No,
No.
because it's
Okay, so
impersonal. They're wasting my time.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. What else? So why did they not? Why did you not buy? So impersonal, wasting your time. What else?
Exactly. Impersonal, wasting my time. And I don't know. I'm just not hooked because they haven't done their research. They don't know who I
Yeah.
am, what I need. And they're just there just to sell products for the sake of making money.
Yeah.
And this
Exactly.
is the wrong
Right.
way of approaching customers.
Yeah. And that all drives from you don't know them, you don't trust them. It could be a scam, it could be anything, right? And I think the big key is trust, which um, comes from what you said, right? If you don't like, you're not going to work with anyone you don't trust. You just aren't.
Exactly.
So if you're out there as an SDR or AE and you're going to like people have to trust you to work with you and buy from you. So how do you do that? So you can, through emails going out, value prop, events, content, visibility, going out there and letting people know who you are. Set up a podcast, do an event, do a webinar, whatever it may be, because think of the people that you do trust. Like, how long have you known them? Now, the other questions are then, okay, so say you did, and you flip it as you, as the SDR, as a customer, right? Say you'd been following someone on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, for say 6 months. You knew the business, you knew what they were doing, or you had some recollection of them, but, never really spoken to them before. And then they reached out to you. How likely are you to take that call?
Very, very likely.
Very likely, right? You're not going to go, oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, I saw this, I saw that, right? The level of trust is going to be there because of the value prop or the marketing or whatever the business has done.
100%.
And that way, then you're going to get more of a percentage of close-in meetings because your marketing, your value prop, everything you're doing beforehand, before you pitch the meetings, already pre-done through a process of going out. That coupled with building the trust over time for customer retention, I think it works side by side with obviously marketing coming in to really push it.
100%.
Love it. Good. So
Build
some really
relationships.
build relationships, go out and do it. So some really insightful information there. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time. So customer retention, we know it's important. Some really cool tips that you give there of what people should be doing in terms of process, how they should be thinking from a mindset. Personalization, yeah, absolutely. We know it's key. But then how should people be doing market research? What should they be going out at the time doing it versus actually getting results or getting something in return? And it's not just as simple as phoning up and trying to ram your product down someone's throat. So yeah, really insightful information there, Mina. So really appreciate it. My last question to you is, and I ask everyone the same question when they're on the show, is you've been in sales for a while.
Yes.
So what has been your biggest highlight over your career so far?
So my biggest highlight been being here with Sodaclick, and I'm not saying that to earn brownie points with them if they're still.
Whatever.
I do come from a completely different background. Ironically enough, I studied interior design and I worked in the industry of interior design for 7+ years. And all of a sudden, during lockdown, I just had a change of heart. I've always been interested in business. I've always been interested in tech, and I was like, why not? Let me just study and apply for a job and see where it gets me. And it got me here, and I'm very excited to be here today, doing what I'm doing. I
Awesome.
love it.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying, Mina, is you done your market research. You checked out the business, you personalized it, and then you sent some emails. No,
Exactly. That's what I actually do when I'm
love
trying to
that.
apply for business. Honestly, I
Yeah.
do my homework. Like I study the business and then I approach them in a way that they need me. I
Mm.
customize
The
my CV and I customize my
mm,
experience based on their requirements.
yeah.
And then I do
The,
follow up on the call.
That's it. The best way I've found for people looking direct, right? Obviously, yes, work with recruiters, that's their job. They can go out, win business, fine, and present a lot more opportunity and control the process, right? Which means saves you time and effort and all the rest. But if you're going out direct, one of the best ways I've found is if you can do your market research, record like a minute video. If you're an SDR, like I would record a video and say, "Oh, I saw that you've done this, and this. I've got this skills. Like I've used Sales Nav, Sixth Sense, whatever, right? I've used all these tools, and I think I'd be a great, solid, person for your business because I can apply. I understand the customer needs. I understand what you're trying to do. That's going to set you apart from your competition that's just sending a CV or applying for a job. So yeah, if you are listening to this and sitting there thinking, actually, like try that, and it's really simple. Use the tools that you've got to grab their emails,
Exactly.
and away you go.
It's
Good.
easy, honestly.
It's easy. Recruiting's easy. Anyone can do it. Good. Okay, so just to wrap up now, then, say people really liked what you said and want to find out a bit more about Sodaclick, about you. Like, how should people get in contact with you? And feel free to tell everyone a bit more about Sodaclick and what you guys do.
Yeah, so basically, thank you, Aaron. So Sodaclick is a powerful and innovative platform that helps businesses to create dynamic and engaging digital signage content while also leveraging our latest voice AI technology to provide personalized and interactive experiences for customers. And if you would like to find out more, you can always reach out to me by a DM via LinkedIn, or you could visit our website, sodaclick.com.
Amazing.
But make sure when
Amazing.
you're reaching out to me on LinkedIn, make it personal.
That's it. Voice note only.
Exactly.
Um,
Voice notes only.
that's it. Amazing. Listen, been a pleasure to speak with you and get to know you a bit more on the show. That is us for now, so I
That's
will
all right.
leave it there.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mina. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
So that was an episode there with Mina Mustafa. Really appreciate you taking the time, Mina, to come on board and give us your advice and tips of what you found has worked. We spoke about customer retention. We know it's important. We know it can be a big problem, but what actionable steps can the audience take away from this conversation to implement into their business so that the all the effort, all the time, all the hard work that's gone into acquiring that new business, doesn't go in vain and doesn't fall away into the ether. So thanks so much for that. Then we talked about personalization. We know we want to get personal with customers. We know we want to do market research, but how far is too far? And what sort of information should you be acquiring to then put into your outreach or to put into generating those meetings? And then we talked about, okay, we've got all this personalization, we've got all this information, we've done our market research. Now what do we do? So we know emails and cold outreach and cold calling can work, but what other ways can you as an SDR or as a salesperson go out and use the information, the market research you've got, and implement it into a different way to generating those meetings? So really appreciate you taking the time today, Mina. Much obliged. And that is it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for taking time to listen. And I will see you